days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. 49ers vs. Saints upon further review. And of course, this is after I've been going through the All-22 film, putting out the breakdowns over on Patreon. First part is available. There's going to be another one available tonight, another one available tomorrow. In fact, they'll probably all be out by the end of the day tomorrow. But it's given me a chance to break down the All-22, evaluate the game further, evaluate the players further, and have some coaching points, both with when it comes to the coordinators and how they were attacking each other, but also some of the players and how they were playing. And I think sometimes it just gives you a deeper understanding. Sometimes you walk away and it just reinforces what you thought. This guy played extremely good, or this guy really struggled. Or sometimes it says, you know what, it wasn't that bad, or that guy was actually better than I thought. And I think it's really fun to kind of get into that because the film doesn't lie. And I think that's one of the things I ultimately love about breaking down the film, which is available on Patreon. The link is in the description section if you want to check it out. But I'm just going to go through and I'm going to talk about, what I saw and some of the breakdowns. And there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that came out of this football game. There's a lot of improvement by several players. There's some guys that are playing at a higher level than maybe we even thought, And I think that is always a good sign for your football team when guys are elevating their game to play up to the level that you need to play to win. And that's ultimately what it's about. And that some of the guys are great for the 49ers. I mean, Fred Warner was absolutely spectacular in this football game. Fred Warner was an absolute stud. There's just no other way to say it. This dude was fantastic. He did everything that he needed to do in this game to help the 49ers win. And some of the plays he made were beyond, right? I mean, I can point out three off the top of my head. First off, there's a push pass to Rashid Shaheed. He's running full speed across the formation. Fred Warner runs sideline to sideline with him and forces him out of bounds for only a 4-yard gain, picking up his teammate De'Amaro Lenore, who didn't do a good job setting an edge as a force defender. That was number one. Number two, Fred Warner covering in space Juwan Johnson, and absolutely locking him down in a key third down play and just absolutely knocking the ball away. It was phenomenal coverage. He starts by showing blitz in the B gap, is able to back off and then cover Johnson on an out pattern. It's special play. And then the Alvin Kamara forced fumble. Jair Brown's making the tackle. He sees the ball up there. He comes through and he punches it out. It is his attention to detail. It's his technique. It's his skill. He's just an overall playmaker. There is no linebacker in this league that can touch Fred Warner. Fred Warner is the unquestioned number one linebacker in this league, and it's not close. I mean, the dude is he could do it all. This is a future Hall of Famer. He is phenomenal. And we're getting to see him play at the highest of levels, and he has a lot of young players around that he's helping elevate their game. So I wanted to give Fred Warner his due in this one. But we're going to be talking about a lot of other players too. It's going to be a good episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. Of course, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you're thinking about betting 49ers versus Cardinals, right? There's a lot of player props. You can bet the over-under. You can bet the spread. Lots of cool things available over on FanDuel. And they'll have, parlays and everything available. So just if you're interested in betting, check out FanDuel. They are the title sponsor of 49ers Cutback. So let's get into this. Upon further review, I thought that, you kind of saw this game. 49ers really held the New Orleans Saints in check early on in this football game. The Saints weren't able to get on the scoreboard. Now, they did move the ball down the field. I will say that the Saints made some plays in this game. I'll say it like this. There was times the coverage was pretty good, and the Saints were still able to make plays. And I'll talk about that first play down the field because there's going to be a lot of conversation about the 49ers secondary and Bernardo Green, De'Amaro Lenore especially. And Bernardo Green, definitely gave up that deep vertical pass to Rashid Shaheed. And, they called pass interference on the play. And I get it, right? They're hand fighting. He ends up grabbing Shaheed's hand. But even without that, it was a tremendous throw by Spencer Rattler and a tremendous catch by Shaheed, a one-handed catch. But Bernardo Green is in really good position. And I think that that's something to remember. Sometimes you're just going to get beat. Sometimes those players are professionals too, and they're going to make plays. And I thought that was not a bad play by Bernardo Green. I don't like the penalty. I don't like him getting called for that. But I thought overall he did a pretty good job on that particular play, and that's all you can ask for. Later on, there was another play. He's on Olave going out of bounds, and he played really well. So it was up and down for Bernardo Green. I thought that there was too many times he got a little bit crossed over. The fact that the Olave almost had a touchdown on that first drive, and the reason being is he let Olave kind of put him in a situation where he had to open up and try to run to the corner. And as soon as he opened up, Olave broke to the middle of the field. Luckily, Spencer Rattler was under pressure and made a bad throw. So it wasn't Bernardo Green's best game. I will say that. I thought that there was a couple of times where he was on the ground where he got crossed up with his footwork, and I thought he didn't play the coverages exactly right. So that's something that teams are going to test. The Arizona Cardinals are going to test it this week. So Bernardo Green is going to have to be a little bit more, comfortable in his zone and a little bit more comfortable in his drops, and he's just going to have to figure this thing out because I thought it wasn't superb. There were still areas of his game. He helped in run fits. He did pretty good there, but this wasn't the best Bernardo Green game. And so I think, just looking at it like that, it's something to take into account. And for Deommodore Lenoir, it's not like he was bad in coverage. There were a couple of things I didn't like. I talked about earlier, him coming up as a forced defender. I thought there was a couple of times that happened. He did give a little bit too much cushion at times. But really the biggest problem for Deommodore Lenoir was more so the missed tackles. He had 3 missed tackles in this football game. And so you just want him to shore that up. But teams aren't exactly testing Deommodore Lenoir very much. They're throwing his direction. Most of the throws his direction were coming in, the late part of the game when, the 49ers were really allowing the Saints to kind of check the ball underneath and make those throws. So I don't think Deommodore Lenoir covered bad. I thought he did a really good job in this game. I thought the tackling, maybe coming up in run support as a forced defender wasn't as good. But overall, it wasn't too bad. Now, what about their running mate? What about Upton Stout? I thought Upton Stout played really, really well in this game. I was very excited watching his film. I thought he flew around. Now, he wasn't like one of the top guys according to PFF, but he definitely came out there and played tough, and he even had a sack. That was really big in this game when he came and blitzed off the edge and made a big-time play. I thought that was really nice. And you have to have guys that are going to make plays like that, and Upton Stout definitely did that. He was really good in those situations. He played a lot of snaps in this football game, 54 snaps in his opportunities. And, he was out there and he was making plays. Now, it's interesting because the one of the top ranked guys in run defense was Upton Stout. And I thought he was really good in this game. He had a 75.1 grade. That was second best on the entire 49ers football team. Number 1 was Fred Warner at 85.2. He was phenomenal. But then Upton Stout was number 2. And that's what it looked like on film. He was really good. And rookie Marquis Siegel continued to be one of the best tackling guys in the league. He had the best tackling grade for the 49ers at 83.9, continuing, what they really love about him. So I thought that Upton Stout did a good job. I thought he competed really well when it came to the run defense. I thought he competed well when it came to coverage. I still don't think that was a penalty on him, and I'm going to stick to that. I don't really care what, people have to say about it. That's my opinion. I would continue to tell him to cover that way. And so I thought it was very ticky-tack. I thought he was right in the hip pocket, and he made a great play. Upton Stout is coming. I think that's something that we can definitely draw from this, is that he did really good in this game. And I think when you look at it from week 1, a drastic improvement. And you have to think, the Saints saw what happened week 1 with the Seattle Seahawks and said, you know what? There's someone we want to take advantage of. And they just didn't have the opportunity. Upton Stout was there. He was ready. He made some plays. And I thought that was very important, for this game. And I thought overall the 49ers, they made some plays early, to get off the field. They made some plays to get some stops. You had the missed field goal by the Saints as well that really prevented that offense from getting going. So besides the Shaheed play early on in the game, I mean, from basically the first quarter through most of the second quarter, it was ineffective for the Saints. The 49ers defense was having their way, stopping the run pretty effectively, getting off the field on third down. It was still a good plan. I thought that the Saints made some good second half adjustments, and they changed up their running game a little bit and allowed them to have some opportunities. And I thought that Alvin Kamara really did a good job. And Kamara is so good at the vision and the acceleration. I thought he did a good job. And I thought that really helped the Saints offense. And one of the things that helped as well was the 49ers didn't finish. If you look at some of the plays at the beginning of the game, the 49ers finished those plays. D. Winters makes big tackle. Mikael Williams, these guys were flying around, able to do it. And then towards the end of the first half, you have Spencer Rattler getting pressure, and he scrambles up the middle. And D. Winters and Yetur Gross-Matos are about to hit him, 2 yards short of the first down sticks, and they're more than likely going to kick a field goal. And the 49ers are going to, have an opportunity to go down and score again, but they could have went in at the half 16-3. But this is a game of inches, and they don't make the tackle. And Spencer Rattler gets the first down. You got to give him credit for doing that, but that's a play they should have finished. That's a big reason why they get a touchdown on that drive, right? They eventually go to Juwan Johnson on a big throw, and Marquis Siegel has pretty good coverage. It's not elite coverage, but it's pretty good coverage. It has to be a really good throw, and it was. Spencer Rattler made a great throw. Juwan Johnson made a great adjustment in the air, made the catch. It was close. But I like the fact that Siegel was right there. He played him off the line. He was right there with them the whole time, but those are the types of things you have to finish. I felt like the 49ers gave up a couple extra here and there, right? Later in the game, you have Upton Stout. He has to make the decision. Do I take Spencer Rattler on this 4th and 2, or do I stick with Alvin Kamara, who's my responsibility? And he tries to split the difference, and it ends up not working out. Rattler gets the first down. There was just plays like that. They were the difference between the 49ers defense, getting a stop, and the 49ers kind of pulling away in this game, and the New Orleans Saints being able to stay in it. So there's a few more plays the 49ers need to make. And I think if they get there and they make those plays, you could start seeing the difference in these games be a lot bigger than a 5-point victory. And I thought that was huge. Now, with Mac Jones, and, Mac Jones getting a lot of praise and well-deserved. I thought he had a really good game. I think if you break down the first couple series, you can see Mac Jones kind of struggled a little bit coming off his first read. He didn't feel comfortable early on. I think that Brandon Staley gave him some looks they probably weren't prepared for. I think Kyle Shanahan knew that they were going to put the onus on Mac Jones to throw the ball. And so definitely they did. They put 8 men in the box. He went single high safety, which Staley rarely did in week 1 against the Cardinals, and which he rarely does overall. And so I thought that Mac Jones kind of struggled with that until he drove that football to Ricky Pearsall on that big 3rd down conversion. And I thought that really got him going. And then later he was just better. I think Kyle Shanahan did a good job of setting him up for success, even in the game. As the game progressed, he continued to find, some really defined reads for him that were going to be a little bit easier. But Mac Jones, make no mistake, he went out there and he executed those. Some good layered throws, some good decisions, driving the ball, outside, taking what the defense gave him, especially in the second half. First half, he missed a couple checkdowns and took some sacks. Second half, he was hitting those checkdowns, taking what the defense was giving him. And I thought that's what made this offense so much more effective. So Mac Jones from the first half, which he was good, and especially that last drive of the second half, or first half, I thought he was really good. And through the rest of the game, he was pretty good. So overall, I thought Mac Jones had a good game. I thought it was a struggle early, which I think the film, supports. And then later, he really started figuring out. Kyle Shanahan helped, and Mac Jones got it going. So it was nice to see that, as Kyle Shanahan sort of dictated what Brandon Staley was going to do, personnel grouping wise and looks wise. And so he was getting some favorable run looks. And I thought that was really good. Now, going through this game film, I will say this about the 49ers run game. I'm going to talk about it a lot in a little bit. There was some running backs that were missing some things, and we'll talk about in a second. But I want to talk about the 49ers offensive line, because this is always a hot button topic. 49ers offensive line is always a little bit of a struggle. People question it a lot. But when you look at what they were able to do in this football game, and you talk about the PFF grades, and I'm going to tell you if it's the PFF grades are supported by film. But I mentioned this in my stock up 49ers is I think Jake Brendel has looked so much better this year. This is the best Jake Brendel that we've seen. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple of plays here and there where you still get frustrated with Jake Brendel. But there is a 2-play sequence in this game, and I brought it up a little bit, where they run toss right and toss left. The toss right play, Jake Brendel not only gets to his linebacker, Pete Warner, that he's supposed to block, but he drives him 10 plus yards downfield and puts him in the ground. It was an impressive play. Like those are the types of plays you point to and you say, that's why Jake Brendel's the starting center. The very next play, he doesn't quite get to Warner, but he does exactly what he's supposed to do. He trails behind him and follows him. Christian McCaffrey is running to the outside. McCaffrey should have cut up earlier. He doesn't. He jumps outside and then he eventually jumps back in. It's McCaffrey doing McCaffrey things. He ends up giving 7 on the play. But when he jumps back inside, because Jake Brendel was following Warner, he's in the perfect position that Warner tries to turn around to get to McCaffrey, and Brendel puts him on the ground again. It's a great 2-play sequence. It's a literally how you teach offensive linemen. The first play, this is how you do it. You get on the guy, and the second level, you drive him, you put him in the ground. The very next play is, hey, it doesn't go right. You don't get there in time. You continue to run and you follow him and you just stick with them because that running back might have to cut off your butt at some point. It was phenomenal from Jake Brendel. I have to say, Jake Brendel looked good. And the PFF grade backs it up. How about this? Trent Williams, all the way back in this one, 83.4. Even with the knee, he tested out before the game. He was good in this game. I thought he was really good. Jake Brendel, an 80.2 PFF grade. Colt McKivitz, a 73.9 grade. McKivitz played really well. Pass blocking was superb. And Ben Barch in his 10 snaps, he was a 73.5. I thought he looked pretty good too. But unfortunately for Ben Barch, he's going to be out for a while with the high ankle sprain. So this is going to be up to the young guy, Connor Kobe, who Connor Kobe did pretty good. He had replaced Barch in the game with the injury, and he had a offensive grade of 61.2, pass blocking grade of 73.1, and that fits the film because the run blocking wasn't as good. He had moments where he looked good, but we talked about this a little bit yesterday, is the fact that it's a little bit harder to pick up those landmarks and know where you're supposed to be, and the run blocking comes along a little bit, after a while. You got to just continue to get reps, and that's the same thing that happened to Dominic Puni last week as well. So Trent Williams, he had that tough week 1, but he did a really good job in this one, and I thought he was great as he was the highest graded 49ers offensive lineman. He didn't allow a single pressure. So from 6 pressures last week to 0, Trent Williams, we talked about this. He had to get some rust off. It was a tough matchup last week. They caught him off guard with a couple of things. Same with McKivitz. I thought this week they bounced back. His 90 pass blocking grade, the best in the game. He had a 74.2 run blocking grade, which is second only to Jake Brendel, who had an 85 grade. And it's completely backed up, especially by those 2 plays I talked about, but there's a lot more really good from Jake Brendel. This is the best Jake Brendel we've seen. And I know that that's a hot button topic, but I'm just telling you, he is playing the best he's played, and the offensive line did pretty good. There were times that Jake Brendel gave a little bit of pressure, but he played well in this game. And so we know what his strengths and weaknesses are. And one of those things that's not a strength is the anchor. That got him a little bit. But overall, he's doing pretty good. Now, the 49ers also had 4 pass blocking grades of 81.7 or higher. That's Trent Williams, Dominic Puni, Colt McKivitz, and Ben Barch. So it was effective for those guys. Those guys were pretty good. Connor Kobe, of course, didn't quite, get there, but he still was effective, especially in his first game, and he didn't give up any pressures at all. So he did a really good job. I thought it was a great game overall for the 49ers offensive line, and it had to be. You had to be able to get things done along the offensive line. Now, with the run game, this is what I was kind of alluding to earlier. I thought that Brian Robinson continued to kind of have a couple of struggles. He's still not quite accustomed to the scheme. And so he's got to get a little bit better at pressing this thing on the outside zone to the outside hip of that offensive tackle and really driving hard and then being able to cut up. There was a couple of times he cut a little bit early, and if he would have continued to press it, he would have ended up finding not a big hole, but a hole for positive yards. So he's still learning this system. I thought there were moments you saw it and you're like, aha. And then there's moments you're like, you're still working on it, Brian Robinson. You're going to get there. But Christian McCaffrey did a really good job in this game, found some openings. Kyle Shanahan found some opportunities with some toss plays. And they were having success running the ball against 8-man boxes as the New Orleans Saints consistently walked up, the second safety into the box. They were playing 5, 6-man fronts at times, really trying to limit the effectiveness of Christian McCaffrey. I thought McCaffrey still did well. I thought Brian Robinson did well. And actually, both of those guys had higher PFF grades than Alvin Kamara. So it was a good performance from those guys on the offensive side of the ball. Now, on defense, one guy I want to talk about and I want to keep pounding the table because of how well he played in this game. And if you guys remember right, I said during the game preview show that I thought Bryce Huff was going to have a good game. I said it, on the Wayne Breezy show. I thought Bryce Huff was going to be somebody that was going to be a problem. I thought he was going to have 2 sacks. He did not have 2 sacks. However, Bryce Huff led all pass rushers with an 89.4 grade. This is completely backed up on film. Bryce Huff was a menace. He came really close to getting Spencer Rattler a couple more times. He got held a couple of times. Of course, we know how holding is in the NFL. If they're not calling it on either side, I don't really have a problem with that. I'm just saying it's restricting him a little bit. But if you're going to be fair and not call it either way, hey, that's just the way it goes. You live with it. And I thought that he did a really good job. There's another one, Spencer Rattler. In fact, I think it's the touchdown to Juwan Johnson. Bryce Huff beats Kelvin Banks Jr., the rookie. Nice rip move. He's working towards Spencer Rattler. Rattler gets rid of the ball just in time, but he was putting pressure. And how about that? 2.4 seconds, the fastest sack in the NFL this season on that last play to seal the deal and seal the game. Bryce Huff was really good in this game. He had 5 pressures. Nick Bosa had 6 pressures in this game. Both of them had a sack. And then, of course, Upton Stout had a sack. So 3 sacks against Spencer Rattler, who was only sacked 1 time against the Arizona Cardinals the week before. So 49ers did a really good job. And I thought that it started with that pass rush with Bryce Huff, and Nick Bosa, who were overall, the top guys. And then you got Mikael Williams. He added in 3 sacks as well. Jordan Elliott, Yetur Gross-Matos, 2 each. And then Alfred Collins, who I have to talk about again, who had the big swim move, got home, got a hit on Spencer Rattler. I thought that was really nice. But Alfred Collins was so much better in this game. And, I left watching the TV copy thinking, what? Alfred Collins did a lot better. Then I watched a little bit of the All-22 and I was like, what? Alfred Collins played a lot better. And then I watched the whole thing of the All-22 and really examined Alfred Collins. I'm like, Alfred Collins is coming. And I think all you have to do is look at the snap count to know why. He played 24 snaps in this game. CJ West played 13. CJ West is got some work to do. He was slipping down a little bit. He had some moments where he looked really good. And I was like, oh, CJ West. But he's losing his feet a little bit. And so when you slip down like that, it creates opportunities in the run game, which it did. There's one play. He should have Elvin Kamara dead to rights. And he just tripped and fell, and it created a hole. And Kamara was able to pick up 5 or 6 yards. So it wasn't all there for CJ West yet. But I'm telling you, Alfred Collins, he's coming. Him and CJ West and Mikael Williams stock way up. It was very impressive. Alfred Collins had some of those plays that we saw at Texas. He takes on a double team. He gets between them. He makes plays. It was fun. And you can kind of hear it in my voice. I'm excited to see the young guy step up because, last week, it wasn't phenomenal. But this week, it was so much better for him. And I thought it was a good thing for the defensive line. They needed Alfred Collins to step up. You had Jordan Elliott and Clea Davis who are battling. We know sometimes they're going to give up some ground in the run game. It happened early, but they battled back too. Both of those guys made plays in this football game. I thought they did good. I thought overall the defensive line rotation was pretty darn good. And then when you talk about that NASCAR package, it was a problem all game long between, what you got from Nick Bosa and Huff and Mikael Williams and Gross-Matos. And even Sam Okawanu, I thought it was pretty good when it came to pass rush for all those guys. I thought they did a great job. Now, when you look at the pass defense, Fred Warner and D. Winters are, again, just absolutely phenomenal. Fred Warner had a 93.4 grade in this game, and D. Winters had a 90.2. And the reason I bring that up is we talked about going into this game, Alvin Kamara versus D. Winters. And D. Winters was just phenomenal against Alvin Kamara. The closing speed, the things he was able to do, picking him up. I mean, there's 1/3 down. Alvin Kamara steps up because they're showing double A blitz, and he's going to help block. And of course, the 49ers, have both guys bail. Alvin Kamara's got a full 2 steps on D. Winters, and he breaks to the outside. And D. Winters runs him down and prevents him from getting a first down. He makes the catch. Now that's when it comes to the Upton Stout, where he's got to play Spencer Rattler. But that ability to run the way that D. Winters does is phenomenal. D. Winters had so many big plays, and I know there's a couple here and there that he had missed tackles that were frustrating, but he did really, really good in this game. And I mean, yeah, he was. D. Winters and Fred Warner are fantastic. And just to show you how good they are, they had Fred Warner at a 93.4 grade. D. Winters had a 90.2. No Saints defender had over a 65.3. None. That's how much better they are. And once again, give credit to Jair Brown. It shows up even more on film. The All-22 film, Jair Brown was really good in his time in there. He didn't play a lot. Jair Brown did not play a lot in this game. But when he was out there, he made plays. He did a very good job. I was very excited about what he was able to do in his limited role, where he was playing a big nickel. He had 7 snaps in this game, so it wasn't a big sample size. But it was nice to see him do it. And that play that he made where he tipped the ball away, which would have been a Chris Olave first down, it's on him. He completely sagged. He did not jump on Alvin Kamara, who was supposed to put him in a vertical stretch. He did a great job of just staying there and doing what he was supposed to do. And I thought it ultimately was just a great performance from Jair Brown. And I thought it was nice to see Robert Saleh, continue to kind of find some different looks and find some different opportunities, to play different guys and use the players that he has, and that's it. That's what you got to do. You got to find those guys, that are going to be making plays. And I thought that he just continues to know how to use his players in the correct ways to get the most out of them. And I thought that's why they look so good. That 49ers, defensive line was just consistently getting after the quarterback. 49ers secondary played pretty well. And, I think that when it comes to like guys like Marquis Siegel, there are some plays, and if you watch it back, he's starting at deep safety, and he's going to read the run, and he's going to absolutely fly up the field. Like, this dude comes from out of nowhere and helps make tackles. It was very nice to see. Marquis Siegel and Upton Stout are improving the 49ers run defense immensely with how they play as force defenders, how they fill holes, and how they make tackles. They're good tacklers. That is huge for this football team. Jason Pennick had a tough day when it comes to giving up touchdowns, right? He had the one that he gave up, where they went to Vele and they had him one-on-one, and he tried to, get a press, and he was able to, lose a little bit of space, and then he worked back, and he worked that arm across. It's actually right there, unable to make the play. The other one, Juwan Johnson runs the rub on Deamara Lenore, and Pennick is in a full sprint with Rashid Shaheed. It was a good call against the 49ers defense at the time, and it beat Pennick. I don't give Pennick problems for that one. That's a tough play. But the other one, he was right there, and he just couldn't finish. So it wasn't bad from Pennick. I just, I think the 49ers are trying to figure out exactly his overall skill set. So interesting in some of these looks what the 49ers were doing. I thought the 49ers definitely weren't as good in the red zone, and I think it's backed up on film. Alvin Kamara was able to find some lanes to run the football, and the 49ers went heavy defensive line, and they were still able to find lanes to run the football. So 49ers are going to have to clean that up against Arizona and James Conner, or they're going to get the ball ran all over them. But overall, when you look at the game, it was fun to watch. Offensive line stepped up, played a lot better in support of Mac Jones, and most of the plays, especially in the second half, Mac Jones had a lot of time to throw. And I thought that was really big. Kyle Shanahan did a great job of chipping, and helping players out. And then another thing I wanted to point out, because, when you look at the PFF grades, I want to kind of explain a couple of things, because you're going to see some low-graded 49ers, and one of those guys is Jake Tunges. And part of the reason that Jake Tunges is a low-rated is he had to play fullback. He had to do Kyle Juszczyk's job, and it's tough to do that. And I thought that, his 56 snaps, I'm guarantee were a lot more snaps than the 49ers intended on him playing, but I want to give him props, for stepping in there and making those plays. So I thought he did a good job. And, the same with you look at the, Marquis Siegel with a 41.4 grade, not worried about it. The film says he played better than that. And so, sometimes when looking at these PFF grades, it does match the film. Sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes, like for Diamond Lenore, the coverage is good. The tackling is just not so good. So, just some takeaways from this football game. But upon further review, I thought the 49ers played well, definitely good enough to win. I think the biggest standouts for me were Bryce Huff, Jake Brendel, Upton Stout. I thought that those guys played really, really well. I thought guys like Alfred Collins and Mikael Williams played really well in this game. I thought Mikael Williams, of course, was a savage and a stud. I thought Alfred Collins showed a lot of promise. These rookies are doing a good job. And then Connor Kobe, was consistent. He was good, and he's probably going to be the left guard, especially with the injury to Spencer Burford. We don't know what's going to happen there. So 49ers, got some young guys making plays, and I think it was backed up, in the breakdown upon further review. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. If you're listening on audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.